we have to tell you that if it's not broken, why fix it? UCDA had an agreement where they would get 1% of all the coffee exports. And they would levy 1% of all the coffee exports. So they would not get any money from government. So they were self-sustaining. So it was in their best interests to increase the amount of coffee exports. Because when they increase the amount of coffee exports, then their percentage grew. Their revenue grew. And they were taking care of themselves. So now where is he going to cut on government expenses by merging UCDA with Ministry of Agriculture? How is that going to cut government expenses? Number one. Number two, if I was to cut down on government expenditure and unnecessary, I would cut down on the ministries, 81 ministers, how many RDCs, how many deputy RDCs. There are so many places to touch before, even State House budget, before you go to Ministry of Agriculture. But I've told you that his timing is not accidental. Coffee prices have about doubled. Farmers are getting rich. There is nothing that wakes Museveni out of sleep than hearing that people in the villages are getting rich. He has worked very hard to keep Uganda's peasant population at 70%. Very hard. There is no leader, as far as I'm concerned, in the whole world who burns the midnight candle to ensure that his people stay in poverty. Now, people can think it's greed. There is a bit of that, but that's not it. They can think it's inefficiency. There is a bit of that, but that's not it. It is just a deliberate policy to keep people poor, because that's the way he's going to rule in perpetuity. So now, all the arguments he's bringing, value addition, he has brought that before. I've told you that we had the best value addition in cotton. Okay? And he destroyed it. Now he goes and says value addition. Everything he has apparently done are things which were done before. You remember the other day they were launching a train. Eh? An old train which is like a cargo train which used to carry cattle. Eh? But they are launching it now as a passenger train. Now, then he closes, Uganda Airlines because it's making losses, and starts Uganda Airlines when it's still making losses. Okay? And still getting money from Ministry of Transport, Works and Transport. Then there's nothing new. He destroyed things, now he's bringing them up in his image and wanting to get credit for bringing back what he destroyed already. The timing of Museveni wanting to merge UCDA is not by accident. He knows that coffee is going to become a very lucrative business. In 1 year, the value of our coffee has increased by 35%. 1 year, between 2022-23 and 2023-24, 35%. Prices have gone up. Last year we earned more money from coffee than we have in the last 30 years. It was a real boom, and that's what has caused Museveni to wake up, to come and try to take us back, right back where he wants us before elections, where everybody is broke and he's the only one who has money. And then he can do whatever it is he wants. Because, maybe transition to Uganda even before you tell me to. Eh? Just enough to keep him barely interested. And all the big money goes to the middlemen. And the middlemen who have licenses which are given to them by politicians. Now coffee, the same thing. They came up with a law just before elections, and they gave licenses. You have to sell your coffee to somebody who has a license. Guess who had all the licenses? Salim Saleh. And he gives them to whoever he pleases. Okay? Now, and that is the thing. So he's in control of Ugandan coffee, and just as well as everything else. Now, the purpose is to make sure the farmer gets the lowest amount of money, just enough to barely keep their interest in it. That's why they even put a law that if you cut down your coffee trees, you're imprisoned for 2 years. Imagine that, so that you are supposed to keep the coffee even if you're not making profit. Somebody else should make the profit. If you cut it down, they'll imprison you. There was the law was there. It was there. So they killed the vanilla boom. They killed the cotton boom was in 2006. Around 2006, there was a boom of cotton, and then they also killed the tea, all our agricultural produce. Now, what does he say? That we are not value addition. When you catch him in his machinations and his craft trying to make people poor, he goes back to his pet arguments of we are not adding value to our products. we need to start adding value. German earn more from coffee, yet they don't grow coffee. He has his more arguments which he puts there just to confuse people, to obfuscate. But the reality is this. Let's talk about value addition. Before Museveni came to power, about 70% of Ugandan textile was made in Uganda from Ugandan cotton. Cotton was grown mostly in northern Uganda and the Kasese area, taken to Lira spinning mill, taken from there to Nyanza, Naitil, Nyanza Textile Industries Limited, and Uganda Garment Industry. All the uniforms we used to put on when I was in primary school, the bed sheets, the uniforms and what were all made in Uganda by Ugandan cotton. Now we are getting Mivumba. Okay? He killed all that chain. Now imagine how many people were employed by that chain, from the growing of cotton to the spinning to the textile industry to Ugandan Garment Industry Limited, which was manufacturing uniforms for schools and all that. Now the thing is, of course, so many of you are too young to remember that, or probably you are not there, but the reality is that he's telling us about value addition, yet he's the one who killed our value addition for all these things. Now, the whole idea of all this coffee thing is for him to gain control, to make sure the farmers don't get money. Now, and this is the purpose of it all. But now the leaders of this country, the true leaders of this country, are declaring that that merger is not going to happen. Okay, it is not going to happen. Museveni has been found out. I have been laboring to tell people that this man works very hard to keep people poor. But that's good news as well as bad news. The bad news, you know. The good news is that as soon as we get rid of him, Uganda is going to have a period of financial prosperity like you've not seen before, that you've not even dreamt about. Because there is one man, there is nobody, no leader in the world I can put my right hand. There is no leader in the world who burns the midnight candle every night planning how to destroy his own country, except Museveni. Others can be competent, they can be greedy, they can be all sorts of things. But somebody who is there planning, how am I going to make sure that people remain poor? It's only Museveni that I know of in the whole world. Now, at night when you're sleeping, he's planning how to make you poor. Why does he want you poor? So that he can have a way of controlling you. Now, that's where the good news is. Because as soon as we get rid of him, very soon, you will see that Uganda is very rich. You just wait and see. Because you just have to take him and his, Kavuyo and his machinations out of the way. And you will see, now, imagine this coffee boom that farmers are getting. If he does not tamper with it for the next 2 or 3 years, those farmers will become very rich. They will be driving cars because of these prices. Because the prices are going higher, they are not going down by projection. Already the farmers have started experiencing. But now, next year, the prices are going to go even higher, even higher. Now that's what wakes up Museveni, and he says, no. Poor people are not supposed to be rich. They are supposed to be poor. That is his mantra. That is his message. And that's what it has always been, and that's what it's always going to be until we get rid of him. But when we do, as we will, wait and see how Uganda is going to boom. Even before we go into value addition, even just selling our coffee without adding any value, people will get rich. Then we can think about adding value when we've first of all taken people out of extreme poverty that they're experiencing right now. Then we can move it on to the next level and say, now, since we are adding $4.23, about between 15 and 16,000 shillings a kilo, and since now people are taking their children to school and they have enough money for health and so on, now let's look at how we can improve on our coffee and add value to make sure that we get more money. But you see now what he does when you find him and tell him that, why are you making people poor? No, we have to add value. We have to add value. And it's just an argument he uses to obfuscate and confuse people. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say here today. But I'm telling you this. Just know one thing for sure.